Hello and welcome to Say Unfiltered, where we go beyond the surface to confront the truths society often avoid. Tonight we are questioning one of the most accepted assumptions of our time, that we live in a patriarchal world. But could it be that real power lies elsewhere? Some argue that beneath the surface of male dominance lies a hidden matriarchal force, one that softly shaped society through emotion, cultural and social influence, from family codes to media and from consumer trends to moral authority. Tonight's debates explore whether women actually hold more sway than is commonly acknowledged. Joining us are Mr. Dynamics, who believe we live in a matriarchal society marked as patriarchal, and Mr. Tochukwu Raphael, who argues the opposite. This conversation promises to challenge perspective and steer deep reflection on how we understand power in today's world. Before we begin, I would like to remind our guests and our audience of the rules guiding tonight's discussion. Well, those are the 7 guiding rules of this program, and we trust that our guests will honor them in the spirit of respectful and meaningful conversation. As stated in the final rule, all contributions must stay within the scope of the debate prompts. So, without further delay, here are today's debate prompts. Going back to our prompts, first thing first, Mr. Dynamics, who really holds the power? Women or men?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ibrahim. So your question is, who really holds the power, women or men? Well, I strongly believe we live in a system where women actually holds the power. On the surface, it seems like men are the head, but like we all know, actually sitting on the neck, and the neck actually kind of turns the head. So just makes sense that the neck controls the head, not the other way around. So I strongly believe we live in a matriarchal system based on certain reasons. Number one being that women, first of all, controls how or let's say how decisions are made in the society. Most of the rules that exist in our society today kind of seems to favor the women more than the men. For instance, in a family setting, especially in Africa, in an African household, women often run the home. Women is in charge of which school the child goes to, which everything that is being everything that happens around the house, for instance, revolves around the woman. Both the financial decision and everything, it just kind of revolves around the woman. Secondly, let's talk about a relationship between a guy and a lady boyfriend, right? Every decision made in the relationship is made by the woman. Both how their sexual life goes, everything is just made. It just kind of revolves around the woman. If the relationship spends more, the woman made it happen. If they managed, then the woman also made it happen. So I believe, even though on the surface it looks like we live in a matriarchal system, well, actually, women are actually the ones in power. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dynamics. Mr. Dynamics said the women holds power, and he highlighted that even in relationship, the women decide what's happening in a relationship. I don't believe in that, but I will ask the same question to Mr. Tochukwu Raphael. Who really holds the power, women or men? Mr. Tochukwu Raphael.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Ibrahim. When Mr. Dynamics was talking, I was just laughing. I was laughing because he was interchanging how he was misunderstanding power for influence. Power here simply means the capacity for one to control or induce an action in somebody else, without the willingness of that person. So whether you like it or not, you do something, the first person makes you to do something, even when you don't like it. Now, we live in a largely patriarchal society. Of course, the history of the world has been patriarchal. In the modern world where feminism has been dominating, you still discover that patriarchy still holds sway. Now, take for example, globally, between 60 to 80% of women who get married adopt their husband's name upon marriage. You can check that. It's a factual thing. If you get married, you lose your identity. You adopt the identity of your husband. That is one. Then in terms of politics, men are also dominating. Politics here does not only mean at the national level. We often say that family is the smallest unit of society. So there is politics at the family level. At the family level, the men hold sway. The men have the power. Now, what women have is what I call influence. Influence is not the same thing as power, although sometimes it can be interchanged with power, but it is not power. Influence simply means the action that one takes upon another in terms of persuasion, in terms of relationship. It has nothing to do with punishment or the promise of punitive measures like power does. But power promises you that if you don't do this, there is a consequence for that. So the men make the policies. Women only influence them. So when you talk about, you mentioned sexuality, of course. Women have the sexual influence. Women have the sexual power. That is why in the homes, they use that sexual power to, influence their husbands for money, for any kind of material things. But in the end, men still decide what happens in the family, largely, in most societies. So men have the power, women have the influence.
But Mr. Tochukwu, don't you think that it is just a definition of rule? We like different careers. Clearly, we have different anatomy, we have different capabilities, and we have different capacity. So, if you look at, for example, political space and sports rather, you find out that men dominated that aspect. While if you look at entertainment industry and you look at, for example, models, you find out that clearly women dominate that part of the world, and which clearly indicates that we have different choice of careers. Don't you think the power, because we are so obsessed with political power, that's why we always we usually channels power towards the political direction. But more often than not, there are subtle powers that women have that controls. There is that saying that behind every strong man lies a woman, and directly or indirectly, she not only influence him, but holds a significant power. If power is being defined by control, she controls that man and influence him significantly. And in some cases, influence is power, definitely. We can't detach influence and power.
Influence is power, but power is not influence. Politics controls everything within a society. Politics controls the economy, controls the education, controls agriculture, controls sports. So the only profession I see, I can tell you for free and with certainty and confidence that women dominate, is the teaching profession in Nigeria, for example. Women dominate the teaching profession. But don't forget that it is the government that makes educational policies. And it is men who dominate politics in Nigeria and anywhere in the world, most places in the world. It is men that dominate politics. So I don't agree with you when you say that influence is power. Of course, influence is an aspect of power, but not always.
All right, Mr. Dunamis, we're moving to our second prompt. The second prompt said, is patriarchy just a performance? And with that, I have this question. Even if women influence life privately, calling patriarchy a performance downplays the very real structural barriers women face in politics, business, and leadership across the world. So what do you think? Is patriarchy just a performance? Because clearly men dominate the political space, and as he rightly mentioned, laws are being made by political leaders. What do you have to say on that?
Okay. Before I proceed to your question, I just want to make something clear. You see, being in charge and being in control are actually two different things. You see, being in charge and being in control are actually two different things. Because being in charge simply means having the title, responsibility, an official role. But you see, being in control is having real influence on outcomes. You know, this is the difference between being in charge and being in control. And in our society today, men are in charge, but women are in control. Men makes the rule. We agree with that, but they make that rule based on how it should favor women. And if based on your question, is the role men play in society, is it just a performance? Well, actually, no. This is just, how will I put it? This is just something that has been established to maintain order. You get, men have to be that, and women have to be that. That is just it. You get, we cannot say it's performance or no. It does not make any sense. But we should understand that while men makes the rule or kind of carry some responsibility, they are doing this in favor of the women. And when you are doing something always in favor of somebody, well, it just makes sense that the person is kind of controlling how you operate, because everything you do is to honor that person. You understand? So this is just the difference between being in charge and actually being in control. And thank you.
Honestly, I like your analogy. That's a difference between being in charge and being in control. I like it. Mr. Tochukwu Raphael, I would like you to respond on that.
My response comes in form of a question. I want him to, in concrete terms, tell us how women control men in today's societies, in concrete terms.
No, he said that the laws in most cases favors women.
All right, thank you very much. The laws that they make favor women. Now, in our last program, we talked about feminism. And I told you that feminism is not about superiority, but equality. Now, I still believe in that today. Now, if our politicians or men in power make laws that favor women, it means that they have recognized that certain rights of women, which had hitherto been deprived of them in the past, they have now recognized the importance, or they are now beginning to assert that these rights should be fully fulfilled or possessed by women. And these are the things that they are instituting in the laws. So when they are making laws, they are not making the laws because the women want or have demanded. No, they still have the choice to choose not to make the laws. But because they have recognized that these laws portends or means that they are respecting the value of justice, fairness, or gender equity or equality, that is why they are instituting those laws. They are not doing it because the women are demanding or are controlling them, or no, that's not true.
Yeah, but let me make something clear. If laws are being made and the laws are favoring me, clearly I hold control.
It's not true.
And if laws are being made to the detriment of men, which clearly I believe that's the argument here. If the laws are favoring women more than men, then the laws are more matriarchal than patriarchal.
Now, what is the context of the lawmaking? Is it the demand by the people? or from the women. I want to understand, okay, for example, in Nigeria, we agree that those who have the power are the men in government, the president, the Senate president, the lawmakers, the judiciary. That is, these are the men who occupy the power. But in a democracy like Nigeria, of course, the people demand certain laws to be made or certain bills to be passed to become law. But those who control or who have the ultimate decision or who decide whether these bills should be passed into law are the men in government. They have the control, not us. We're talking about reality here, not what should be or not an ideal thing. In reality, men have the power. Women can only influence through maybe protest or activism. That is it.
Yeah, but Mr. Tochukwu has made his argument. Will you like to respond to what he said, Mr. Dunamix?
Yeah. Like he said, men makes the law. I think this is the base of his argument. Men makes the law. Men controls politics. But we can agree that control can be direct or indirect. It don't necessarily have to be direct. I'm going to give an instance, though out of context, but we can relate. If a puppeteer takes a puppet to battle, and that puppet is kind of in front of the battle while he's behind doing the puppet thing, and the puppet kind of won the fight and came back. Are we going to see the puppet won the battle or the man? This is the same thing we are seeing in our society. Men makes the law. Women did not ask them to make the law. Yes, but they do that indirectly. You get. We can say for sure, I don't have the exact statistics, I'm not going to say it, but like we can say for sure, most of the time when we have violence in different homes, most of the time it's just designed to favor the women, not because they ask, but because of the system already just I don't know, but like the system already
But isn't that a justification? Isn't that a justification supporting that we live in a patriarchal world? Because a patriarchy has it that women are weaker sex. So for that, everything that we do to favor women to save this weaker sex, even though there is an argument that the laws are being made in based on the auspices that women are weaker. So men felt that it is our moral responsibility to protect who are weak. And if that's so, clearly we're living in a patriarchal society, don't we?
Well, actually, when we say women are weak, we have to specify on what aspects. I've never believed in the idea that women are weak. If we say physically weak, it makes sense that we say they're physically weak. You get, they're not physical. They are physically weak, of course. You don't go about punching a woman in the face. It doesn't make any sense. They are physically weak, right? But when we talk about mentally, intelligence, they are not weak. You get, for instance, take an instance. A husband can do one thing at a time. He goes to work and come back and rest. Period. But a woman can go to work, come back early to make food, ensure the children bathe that night before they sleep, and then wait for the husband to come back from work. Multitasking at the time. Are we going to say the man is stronger? No. But they are physically weaker. Understand? So the idea of violence is not based on that they are weak or they are just weak physically, but not generally speaking. They are weak just only in the physical aspect, not generally speaking. Thank you.
All right. Women are not physical. They are physically weak, but not weak in a general setting, right? And that leads us to the thoughts item, prompts. I will start with Mr. Tochukwu. The third item is the feminine grip on social power. The feminine grip. We know that women holds a tremendous social power. So in a world where social validation, emotional leverage, and narrative control often favor women, are men truly in charge or merely reactive? Mr. Tochukwu.
Let me get your question again.
All right. I said in a world where social validation, emotional leverage, and narrative control often favor women, are men truly in charge or merely reactive? For me to give you insight, social media, fashion, dating, and even public opinion are often driven by women voices. Men frequently adjust to this pressure rather than lead them, suggesting a reactive rather than ruling role.
I don't believe that.
All right?
I don't believe that women drive public opinion. That is not true. Unless you are talking about feminism. That is where women's voice. Take for example, they bring back our girls, championed by a female. What is her name again? Aisha Yusufu. Of course, when you look at it from the lens of activism, then this is where women, especially with regards to sexual violence or sexual exploitation, that is where the voice of women, wield or hold sway. But in terms of other political discussions or perspectives, I don't think women's voice have been, at the top. And it is because of, the men in power who have deprived the female folks of this opportunity or privilege.
All right, let's be clear. We're talking about social power, not political power.
Social power.
Yes.
Political power is part of social power. It is still that it is a social relationship, because politics covers everything.
Yeah, but we make a plain should I say stage. We talk about social media, we talk about fashion industry, we talk about entertainment industry. So focus on that rather than the political sphere.
Yes, the fashion industry, of course. Women are meant to be, dominating in fashion. It is obvious, it is natural, because they are meant to be more beautiful than men. So, but what I am saying is this. Whatever influence, whatever contribution that the female folks will make or makes can only be viewed within the purview of influence, not control.
But I want to, for the sake of our viewers, I would like you to give us a distinction between influence and control, someone who has influence on you, because clearly everybody that is just watching this program know that everybody who has influence on you can control you directly or indirectly.
Control borders mostly on manipulation, which is sometimes negative or most times negative. Influence is positive.
No,
largely positive, not all the time.
All right.
Not all the time. But influence has nothing to do with coercion or force. But power, all the time, has something to do with force and coercion. So a woman can only influence you. But you are a man, you are in power. A woman cannot control you, cannot force you to do something. She can only influence you. And she does that by activism, through protest, through various means, but cannot coerce you to, because you still have the ultimate decision. So women dominate in terms of fashion, in the fashion world, even in the movie industry, and but when it comes to more aspects like politics, for example, I've mentioned this. Politics governs everything. It governs every walks of life within a society.
Yeah, but don't forget, I still believe that bringing the idea that men dominate politics in a democratic society is not a rational argument, because everyone has equal rights to vote and to be voted for. So if men comes out in politics, that signifies that men got attraction to politics more than women, which bring us back to the first thing that I rightly underline, that we have difference in choice of our career because of the clear difference in anatomy that we have. We all agree that women are physically more weaker than men, while to some extent women are more psychologically stronger than men. So clearly we will have difference in our choice of rule. Don't you think that's the case, Mr. Dunamix?
Okay. Please, can you come again with your last questions? I lost you at the last sentence, please.
All right. I make mention that he gave an idea, and I said I don't fold. Actually, I don't believe that women controls. For example, not having control, not having grip on the political space has any thing to do with maybe men dominating them there, because we are living in a democratic society, and we all know that in a democratic society everyone has equal rights to be to vote and to be voted for. So if men are dominating women in the political space while women have the rights to contest in the same vein, then it is not in any way a rational argument, because they have the rights to vote and to be voted for. What is stopping them from voting, coming out to be voted for? Clearly is the role, the choice of career. Women oftentimes doesn't like things that has to do with physical strength. So men are more attracted to these careers. Then I say, I don't know whether you share the same sentiment with me.
Yeah, exactly. Aside that alone, we can say for sure that when we talk about population, we know women are far more high in terms to population compared to men. And like you say, in a democratic society as we live in, right, everybody has the equal right to vote and to be voted for. Number one, if a man is voted for, like you said, it is because of one he wanted to, he chose that career. But women are not kind of attracted to that. Understand? They're not attracted to politics. But we should still understand again that if a man is voted for, that is because of women also put him there. He's not just there because of he wanted to be there. It is well, we can't say chance, but let's just say it is because of the people voted and agreed he should be there, which also involves women. You understand? If we decide to say, okay, women vote for women, men vote for women, we know we are losing. We just know we are losing. You understand? So these are factors we are going to consider when we say men controls politics. Actually, they don't, since we know that women are much more higher in population, and we live in a democratic society where everybody have that equal right of to be voted or to vote or to be voted for. Understand? So in that way, if a man is there, it is because of one, women decide not to be there, and they decide to say, okay, you go there. You get? Thank you.
I want to respond to.
All right, go ahead. Go ahead.
Now, you say that what I've made is irrational. Now, let me tell you, democracy, one of the elements of democracy is equity and respect for fundamental rights. Yes, in principle, we have equal rights, one man, one vote. So women are given this opportunity. They have this opportunity to become the president of Nigeria or a governor of a state. But then the way the society in Nigeria is created is quite different. Nigerian society, there is this entrenched endemic constraints or structure, patriarchal structure in Nigeria, that has made it impossible, practically impossible for women to emerge as the topmost leader in Nigeria. It is impossible.
Why?
And it is the men. Now, I'll give you an example. The onus still lies with the men to restructure Nigeria the way it should be. I'll give you an example.
All right.
Now, how many governors in Nigeria have made it a duty that if I'm contesting for a particular political position, I would take up a female as my running mate. Now, in the coming Anambra election in November, the APC candidate, Okachukwu, has Senator Uche Ekwunife, a female, as a running mate. Now, he would have chosen a man, but he said no, that I believe in gender equity. I believe that women have the wherewithal, have the power, have the skills to rule, for governance, for leadership. So let me give them this opportunity. So I think the problem here is not about equality. The problem is lack of equity and lack of the consideration.
All right. I think you make a very strong argument here. But what I would like to chip in is the fact that we are guided by the Constitution. And in the Constitution, there is no stipulated law that said woman is not going to become the president of the country. There is no place whatsoever. And also, let me bring you to Spitz. There is no laws. Clearly, for me, it's just like Elia said, the career we want is different from the career that women want. So clearly, there are very few ladies that are interested in politics compared to men. So, for example, if you go to fashion industry, you find out that the women dominate everything there. Will the men say there is no equity there? No, clearly we are not as attractive as women in the fashion industry because they love the career more than us. That doesn't imply that they are dominating men there. And that's the simple logic. Men are dominating in politics because they love politics more than women, because they are more physically stronger than women, and it demands physical strength. I think it is the best logic to use in that, rather than men dominating them or making it impossible for them to attend. Because giving a woman a vice deputy governor is just like giving her a handout. They deserve more than that. If they like it, they should come and have a governorship candidate rather than collecting a handout that's be vice deputy governor, be a commissioner, or for example, say I allocate so seats to women. This is clearly handout. Let them come and compete the same way you say you believe in gender equity. If they are truly interested in it and the Constitution have given them the right to do that, let them come and compete rather than saying no, the system is not favorable to them. Well, there is no clear indication to that. Thank you. With that, we move to the fourth item on our prompt. From the cradle to the culture, who shapes society? You know, mothers are primarily caregivers and first educators. Women drive media trends and moral boundaries. And there is a saying that this world is a battlefield for influence. So with that, is society being quietly molded rather than governed? Mr. Tochukwu.
You know, all these questions are just repetitions. One question, transformed into another terrain. The society is cared for by both the men and the women. The men are traditionally, endowed or given the task as the head of the family. They provide for the family. Mainly in terms of material provisions. They provide money, they provide shelter, they provide protection because they are meant to be physically stronger than the women. Then in terms of emotion, in terms of caregiving, as you mentioned, the women also have that skill or the endowment to do so. You asked whether the society is more mothered or fathered or thereabouts.
Or more mothered than governed.
Okay, more mothered than governed.
Yes.
Okay. The society is not more mothered than governed. The ultimate authority still resides with those who are in the corridors of power.
Okay, you believe that the society is more governed than mothered.
More governed than mothered.
But do you believe, Mr. Dynamics, do you share the same sentiments?
You see, the idea of trying to bring how the society operates always under the umbrella of politics is I don't know, it's kind of weird to me because there's a difference between rules and values, laws and values. You see, a law can be broken. Laws are meant to be broken, to say, right? But values are, it's really hard to break. You get, there is this value I left my house with, and it's going to be hard to break it. It's easier to break Nigerian constitution than to break those rules I left my house with. This is different thing between difference between law and values. And we know that in a family, women provide that value. Women shape how their child behave after they have left their house. Yes.
Hey,
Most of the
very sad indeed.
most of the times most of the times the we know that the father or the dad is always outside hunting for food, just catering for the family, might not have that time, that time to sit down and talk to the what, to the child. But this we know that women are the one that actually do that. And there's this thing I won't say. I don't know that anybody have noticed it. Is kind of off context, but we can add it. If you check most of guidance and counseling programs where you go for guidance and counseling, right? Except when it is counseling, you end up meeting a woman there. Most of the times, you end up meeting a woman there. This is They are meant to shape how people think. They are meant to shape how values are passed. Understand? But men, they like you say, they are just out there performing. I can say, just out
All
there
right.
being the men. They're just out there being the men, trying to cater for the family, whereas the women are the ones doing the inside work, and this is what really matters in the society.
All right, Mr. Tochukwu Raphael, I saw you shaking your head and laughing. Maybe you would like to respond to that.
All right. Yes, I'm a person that so much believes in, a hierarchy of society. It starts at the bottom, and which I've mentioned that the family is the smallest unit of society. So if the country or if the world will be all right, then the families must be all right. Then if something is wrong with the family, that means the world will be in a mess. However, Dunamis, you and I know with certainty, and even you accuse the Nigerian government of not ruling well, and even you believe that Nigeria is the way it is today, that we have armed robbery, banditry, all this kind of abnormal behavior amongst our young ones because the person in Aso is not doing well. You don't blame it on the mother or on the father. No, you blame it on the person in Aso. That will tell you that if something in Aso is going well, it's going better, if the person there is ruling well or is governing us well, everything will become well, will become good. Everybody will behave normally. The reason why somebody is calling Nigeria an animal kingdom is the way we have been behaving, and it is attributable to the bad leadership flowing from Aso. So the fact still remains that politics has the ultimate decision over the life of any person, not the father, not the mother.
All right.
Okay, actually, I'll try to draw something there. Actually, it does not really work that way. Yeah, if we say the reason why Nigeria is the way it is because of the government, while it is correct economically, it has nothing to do with the way people live their life. You understand? Let's take a first world country, the United Kingdom, the United Kingdom, London to be precise, right? In England, there is more knives than humans. You understand? There is more knives than humans. Even though we can say the government is doing significantly better than our government in Nigeria, but we can still see that it does not change the fact that 7 a.m. in the morning you are still hearing gunshots. You understand? So it has nothing to do with who is doing the politics or who is the president or who is on Aso Rock. It does not have anything to do with that. It has to do with if we say charity begins at home. We don't say charity begins at Aso Rock. We don't say charity begins at this. We say charity begins at home.
Hey.
So whatever anybody portrays
God.
outside, it is a reflection of where they are coming from. Understand? It has nothing to do with who is in Aso Rock. If I say today we don't blame our president, well, they're either going to blame me or say, did he have home training? That's what people are going to say. I want to talk about home training. Most of the time, it's not the father, it is the mother. So it is not political most of the times. Politics have a part to play, understand? But it is mainly how people are nurtured, how people think, how people are trained. Has nothing to do with politics. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dunamix. Clearly, both of you guys have made a very strong argument, I must say. So that leads us to the last item in our prompts. And it's rewriting power beyond gender titles. I'll start with you, Mr. Dunamix. Are we due for a new framework that recognizes soft power, emotional influence, and cultural dominance as equally potent form of rule?
Okay, now the thing now here is that, like, based on your question, to simplify it, are we due to kind of shift the way our society operates, right? Well, actually, no. We don't have to. We should not. It cannot, to say, because this is a system established to maintain order. You understand? It cannot be modified. We should not modify it. It's just the way it should be, and it is the way it has always been, and it is the way it's going to continue, both culturally, religiously, everywhere. I think in most religion, not personally my religion or anybody's religion, but in most religion, this idea of women being in power, it has been there and it will always be there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please respond to that, Mr. Tochukwurafel.
Well, men are created equal, but everywhere in chains. We are still in a patriarchal community, a patriarchal world. Now, what I believe is that women have the right to assert themselves, to assert their powers. They have a different kind of gifts from men. So when this gift is being suppressed, it means or portends danger for them. So what I believe is an equality in politics, in economy, in education. So both hard power and soft power, I don't care about them. What I care about is that women are given the opportunity as men to assert themselves also. Of course, biologically, men and women cannot be equal. But in terms of social power, women also have that clout. They have the abilities, the skills also to assert themselves. That is what I want to say.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tochukwurafel. Thank you once again for joining us on this program, Was Unfiltered. Mr. Dunamix, you're welcome also. And with that, we come to the end of today's episode. Tonight's conversation reminds us that power is not always about who speaks the loudest, but often about who shape what's heard, felt, and followed. Whether you believe we live under patriarchy or hidden matriarchy, or one thing is clear: the lines between influence and authority are more blurred than ever. Thank you for joining us on Was Unfiltered, where we challenge norms and rethink power. Until next time, stay bold, stay curious, and above all, stay unfiltered. I remain your host, Ibrahim Umar Wasi. Good night.